I say ladies and gentlemen way too much. That is just a polite greeting. I am saying it is me, your host, Captain Boring. It is the man, the myth, the legend, unveiling a brand new nickname right now. It is RB3, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely love it. It is not CFP Insider Roberto, but RB3. How you doing?
You know, I'm hanging in there.
Right before Christmas, I feel like everyone's on autopilot, but now's the time of year where it's okay to be on autopilot. So, you get all your Christmas shopping done, or you still got more to do?
I got pretty much all of it done. If anything, it would just be like some small stuff that I'm not gonna think about until like Christmas Eve, and I'm like, why didn't I think about this like super small thing that I can get at Walmart for $1?
Sure. Yeah. It's always the small stuff. It's like when you go on vacation and you like forget your toothbrush or socks or underwear, and you're like, "Oh, what is that?"
Squeaker.
Oh,
She
that's
got
what
the
that
squeaker
was.
out of the toy. I'm like, what?
Labs,
Oh,
man, they just want it so
golly.
bad. They want it so bad. For all of those wondering, Admiral, you like that? It claims that he is somewhere, but he's not anywhere for me to let him in. So when he gets in the chat, we will most certainly let him in. Robert, let's start with some news that I don't think has been broken yet. We'll get to some Michigan news in just a second. So let's start. Yeah, I have no idea where Simeon thinks he is, but it's not in our chat. All right, Oregon State and Washington State are near an agreement to join the West Coast Conference as affiliate members, sources say. Oregon State and Washington State are near an agreement to join West Coast Conference as affiliate members next year in multiple sports, most notably men's and women's basketball. So it really doesn't affect football because they're going to do affiliate membership with the Mountain West next year for all of those. But the West Coast Conference, that houses like Gonzaga, right?
That's a horrible idea. There's no football schools in there.
Well, but it's I think it's let me keep reading here. I don't think it's for football. I think it's
I
6
think
game.
that's
While
just
the Beavers and Cougars game against Mountain West schools in football will not count towards conference standings, there is an expectation their games will count towards standings in other sports for other sports in the WCC. They're in
that's like a
agreement similar to the
huge step
ones
down.
reached to play the Mountain West to play 6 football games against Mountain West teams next year. Yeah, so it's not for football, but it's for other sports outside of football.
I mean, but still, that's a huge step down. Like
Yeah.
they should have just went to the Mountain West because, I mean, yeah, for basketball, like St. Mary's and Gonzaga are usually pretty good, but Pepperdine and San Diego, San Francisco,
Soccer.
Pacific Port, like
It's for soccer.
that's yeah, but that's like a very that's not even a lateral move. That's a very regressive move.
Respectively, for every other sport except for basketball, I think that was a good move for them.
For like baseball and soccer and stuff?
Yeah. Because that's what there's. From what I know of the WCC, I think they're pretty good. They're like top of the table, not necessarily the best, but top of the table as far as all the other little sports goes. And more realistically, they're all in the same area. So there's not a ton of traveling.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in terms of travel. Basketball, college basketball, sure. I think that, I mean, when's the last time that Washington State or Oregon State were really good at college basketball? But
and not to be rude to Robert, you're also not wrong though. at all.
I mean, I
What
get
you
the
just said.
logistics point of it. Like,
It's not as
I mean-
bad as what you make it sound like, but it's also pretty bad. Like you're going from a Power 5, you're in theory a Power 5 conference, to a non-major where you only exist because Gonzaga shows up every year.
I mean, this is like Michigan going to the A10.
That's a great example.
Michigan would lose in the A10.
But
I maybe not the A10, but it's something similar to
like the MEAC, the Mid-East Atlantic.
Yeah, or like the Patriot League might be a better example.
Yeah,
something
I can see that.
Something that elite shows up, you know.
Ladies and
don't say it. Don't say it. I told you today, don't say ladies and gentlemen. And what was you? I join, and you say ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, because you missed my opening. So, ladies and gentlemen, Admiral You Like That has joined us. He told me not to say ladies and gentlemen so much. Again, I'm just a polite person, and I'm respecting people's. I can't even say I'm respecting people's pronouns because that's not true anymore, is it? No, it's not. Anyway,
you are with insulting everyone.
Yeah, it's fine. But I'm an equal opportunity insulter. Admiral, turn your mic up just a tad bit. Admiral, also, you missed. I unveiled Roberto's new nickname.
1, 2. Oh, Private Boring.
No, it is not that. However, Private Boring is fine. He can go by Private Boring. He is a third. So he is actually technically RB3, which I think is just
Wait, you're a third?
Yeah, see? And I told him he should have led with this information when I first met him. Hi, my name's Robert. I'm a third. My initials
Robert
are
Bainbridge
RB3.
the third.
Yes. Gotta lead with that, my dude.
I'm not.
So then I said that I should be CB3. CFB3.
CFB3.
That is okay. Yep, Robert, you done messed up. That is brilliant. CFB3.
CFB3. So
what is? Can we? Sorry, breaking news. Can we know your middle name? Are we allowed to? Is that information you're comfortable sharing? People are weird about their middle name sometimes.
It's William.
No, that would have been great if it was like Frederick or something, because then it would have been exactly spot on.
Yeah,
it would have been RBF3. That's excellent.
Yeah, that would have been.
All right, here's some other news. Robert, you broke this to me today. Michigan receives NCAA notice of allegations for, drum roll please. No, it's not for the alleged advanced scouting, sign stealing. This is actually notice of allegations by the football staff during the COVID-19 recruiting dead period. This all goes back to Harbaugh's hamburger, quote unquote, incident. It is for level
not a cheeseburger. Derek Crawford, NCAA Vice President of Hearing Operations, said in the statement. Go F yourself, dude.
You got away with it if it was a cheeseburger, but since it was a hamburger, nah.
Respectfully, go F yourself. What are we even doing here? If this isn't the NCAA going after Michigan, I don't mean to be this guy.
Yes, you do.
But I'm going to be. This is the NCAA just going after Michigan because they can. I thought we were over this.
No, we're not. Because remember, this goes back where they agreed to 4 games. The NCAA and Michigan agreed to 4 games, and then the infraction committee, which is part of the NCAA, ladies and gentlemen, comes back and says, no, we don't want that. So then Michigan suspends Jim for 3 games, the first 3 games, and then they're coming back around. So according to sources, Wolverines coach Jim Harbaugh, who may or may not be there by the time these allegations even come to fruition, faces a level 1 violation for allegedly not cooperating with or misleading NCAA investigators about alleged violations. there's a lot of it alleged in there for him to be facing a level 1. Michigan also faces 4 level 2 violations, which are considered less serious. Michigan in August imposed a 3-game suspension on Harbaugh to start the season, as well as a 1-game suspension over Sharon Moore. So let's not forget that Sharon was also suspended to start the season. The self-imposed penalties enacted to soften the impact of the NCAA's punishment came shortly after the NCAA's infraction committee did not improve negotiated resolution involving Harbaugh that would have resulted in a 4-game suspension. So this is kind of like when the NCAA says we don't want kids to transfer twice. The second time they transfer, they have to have a penalty. And then athletes or people or somebody sues the NCAA over this. And then the NCAA says, you know what? We're going to join your lawsuit to sue ourselves, which I think is just fantastic and just puts a neat bow on just how messed up the NCAA is. So, Admiral, we heard you. CFB3, any thoughts on this, or should we keep on moving on?
Before you say that, the level 2 infractions, which include, thank you, Adam Rittenberg, for this, by the way. We should give sources. That's what we're reading right now. Yeah. Which include an, quote, off-the-field analyst allegedly being involved in on-field coaching activities, end quote. That is what the level 2 violations include. So dude was working through practices with an 18-year-old when he wasn't allowed to be. How dare you? Number one, how dare you? Robert, what are your thoughts?
Let us also not forget that the president of the NCAA has come out and said that he would like to start another division of college football where they make their own recruiting rules. So why are we even enforcing these ones if you want to go and create something else?
Because those rules haven't existed yet.
It's just dumb. If I'm Michigan, I'm waiting until the 89th day to respond because the NCAA would still have to do 60 days to respond to that. So, I mean, why not just drag it out those 3 months? Just,
be as petty as possible.
Oh, 100%. You're doing literally everything they ask you to do, and they're just being asses about it.
So this is the NCAA. If anyone remembers, if anyone watched Jimmy Neutron, we only watched it as our friend's house because we weren't fancy and had cable because my mother didn't want our brains to rot. Well, mission not accomplished. Brains were rotted anyway. The monkey that popped up with 3 eyes that would say this? I'm Paul. Yeah, that's the NCAA. Just popping up out of nowhere. Hi, I'm Paul. You're suspended.
That's a
for
great
no reason.
Reference.
Robert, that's a great thing.
10 out of 10.
They want
Look
to
at you.
make...
Wait, hold on. Micaiah was just not boring for the first time in this history. Second time in the history of this podcast. Great job.
I'm in danger.
Great job. Continue on.
Robert, that was great. You bringing up about the NCAA and the new president wanting that new subdivision. 100%. Like, this is going to get so messy. This goes back to the NCAA wants to protect the 2-time transfers in this 14-day restraining order period in their lawsuit. So in order to protect the kids, they're just going to join the suit against themselves in order to do that. When in reality, to protect those kids, they could just not enforce this time. It's so messed up. All right, let's do some of this. And let's move on. Coaching carousel news since we last left you. Jeff Chokegate, Texas's co-defensive coordinator who led Montana State to back-to-back FCS playoff appearances for Montana State in 18 and 19, then jumped to Texas and has been the inside linebackers coach since 2021, is taking over the Nevada coaching job from Ken Wilson, who was just downright awful. Gerard Parker, the Notre Dame offensive coordinator, will take over from John Summerall at Troy. Parker is a natural fit for the Trojans program that has had success hiring coaches from the same tree. Parker worked for Neil Brown at West Virginia, John Summerall at Tulane, who he replaced during John Summerall's time at Troy. Brown and Summerall combined for 5 double-digit win seasons, leading the Trojan with the failed Chip Lindsey experiment coming in between their respective tenures. So that's what's going on in college football. Also, Greg Schiano, Rutgers is not terrible. They're mediocre, so they extended him, obviously, through the 2030 season. Now let's get to the actual good stuff.
Wait,
quarterback.
The assistant, no? Tom
If you
Allen got hired as the defensive coordinator at Penn
You
State.
can do assist. Sorry, I only had the head coaching, so you can do the assistants. Go ahead.
Yeah, Tom Allen got hired at Penn State
Yeah,
the
that's-
defensive coordinator, replacing
Why?
Manny Diaz.
Because Indiana was so good.
Was he a defensive coach?
What does this mean? What does this mean?
Woo!
Oh,
Yeah.
just make the sound next time.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt.
Houston hired Kevin Barbay
Barbell.
as offensive coordinator. Hold on, I saw one other one that I actually cared about. You said Gerard Parker. Western Kentucky, no, that's an offensive line coach.
How do you go from Manny Diaz while you're still looking that up? How do you go from Manny Diaz, who was at least an accomplished defensive coordinator before his failed head coaching experience at Miami, to Tom Allen, who I don't think was an accomplished defensive coordinator, took over Indiana, had one good season, which was the COVID season, which I will say through and through, except for Alabama that year, you throw everybody else out. With Michael Penix and Kalen DeBoer, his OC. Like, does Penn State purposely want to be more awful? There's no way Tom Allen is a better defensive coordinator than Manny Diaz.
Micaiah, let me. You're 100% correct. But Manny Diaz is probably one of the best defensive coordinators in the nation in the sport of football right now. To be frank with you, besides maybe the Jets defensive coordinator, whoever runs that defense. But let's put it this way. USC is expected to hire former Houston's defensive coordinator, Doug Belk, as defensive backs coach. I don't know how good defensive coordinator how good defenses Houston was, but here's a better one. Dante Williams, the dude that Doug Belk is replacing, is going to Georgia to be their defensive backs coach. So, spoiler alert, Georgia's going downhill from here because they won't have a defense anymore. But that's the talent pool we're working with, is more my point. Like, it's not like we have a deep talent pool. So we got a head coach guy coming in. It's Penn State. They clearly like it. So, yeah, you pick Tom Allen. I don't even know. Is he a defensive-minded coach?
Yeah, so he had a couple stints. Like, everything's been defense for him outside of the 90s. So between like 2000 up to his head coaching in 2016 has been like he was at USF, he was at Drake and Mississippi State. So
is Mississippi State the most recent to Indiana? Like, what's the most recent job to Indiana?
South Florida. It was like 2015, I think. They went like 8-5.
Come on.
No, he was the DC at Indiana before he got the full-time gig.
Again,
Right,
humans are
2016. But like,
right.
But that's what I don't get. Like, I would understand if he was on a 12-1 Georgia Alabama squad, name the national champion that year, right? The Ohio State, or in 2015, I think it was Alabama.
I see
right?
what you're saying.
If he was the defensive coordinator, he's on an 8-5 USF, and now he's gonna have to go stop. I don't know Penn State's schedule next year, but he's gonna have to stop Washington and Oregon and USC and UCLA.
Because USC's one of their protected games.
I also don't understand why they hire recent head coaches. Like Tom Allen's going to be there for 1 to 2 years. and then he's going to leave because he's going to go for head coach because that's what he is.
But is he though? Like who's gonna want like Indiana because he was alum there?
Come on, there are some schools. There's going to be a team that's going to want Tom Allen because I mean, even though Indiana was bad, he kept that program at least competitive sometimes.
Okay,
Holy Cross would love Tom Allen, probably.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure
I-
Vanderbilt will do it.
Not to be Micaiah with you, to your point, I don't know why we're not looking at a mid-major, a group of 6 defensive coordinator and going, you want to come here?
Is the Penn State fan base really that hungry for a name that's known?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they really
probably.
are. They don't have anything else to do, Micaiah.
I would have been more impressed if they would have went and tried to get North Dakota State's head coach to be their defensive coordinator because that also, yeah, but you're also coming from a team that's won. The guy wins, he wins like 80-90% of his games, and at least he's a head coach that, if he leaves in 2 years, he's probably going to go for a pretty big job. You know what I mean?
Defensive-minded head coaches who fail, because that's what defensive-minded head coaches do in an offensive league, do make really good defensive coordinators, I have found, over the years. Like, they're hard. I mean, look at Will Muschamp. Like, Will Muschamp is a good defensive coordinator. I mean, he's the DC over at Georgia right now, I'm pretty sure. Like there's a long history of failed defensive coordinators as head coaches that come back and just coordinate and do a bang-up job.
He's the co-defensive coordinator and safeties at Georgia, yes.
Thank you. Why defensive-minded head coaches don't work is because they can't connect with the quarterback. And when they need to get 3 yards on fourth down,
I disagree with you.
On a big fourth down, they can't. If the offensive coordinator calls something that is sketchy, they don't know any better.
I think defensive coordinators don't work as head coaches, not as because of the play calls, but because it goes season to season. I think you're half right. I think the part of like not connecting as well is kind of the same because the defense doesn't connect the same way an offense connects. But I think it's more about the fact that I have a successful season as an offensive coordinator, and I'm more likely to get offered a job than a successful season as a defensive coordinator. And as an offensive coordinator, I'm more likely to take said job. So you're more likely to see constant offensive coordinators who you got to score points to win games. That's how this game works. You play to win the game. Like the Jets aren't good, even though their defense coordinator is good. But this is where we are, So I think it's more of a year in. You could have, if you played 4 years, you could have 4 different offensive coordinators compared to Jim Harbaugh, who's like, this is how we do and we develop what we do from an offensive perspective. And I bring in different defensive schemes. I mean, it looks different from Don Brown to who's the dude, Mike, whatever his face is.
Jesse Minter.
Yeah, Minter.
Mike White guy. Yeah, that guy. Jesse Minter. Sorry, I just wanted to call him a white guy.
Jesse White guy.
Jesse White guy.
That white guy.
It looks different. It's similar, but it still looks different, and it's made
pretty racist, but correct.
But it at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because they'll put up 32 points against you every game.
I mean, Robert, you've spent more time in football locker rooms than Simeon and I. So, any insight on why? I mean, I say this knowing the two teams at the pinnacle of college sports right now are Alabama and Georgia, led by 2 defensive-minded head coach. But may I remind you that Kirby Smart did nothing at Georgia before he got, not Mike Bobo, that's his current offensive coordinator, before he got whoever the Ravens offensive coordinator is right now in there, and Stetson Bennett to actually run the football and have a great scheme. Like Ed Orgeron is my go-to example every time.
Todd Monken,
thank you. Ed Orgeron was mediocre. Then he got that kid from the New Orleans Saints in there, and Joe Burrow and a whole bunch of first-round wide receivers, and was awesome. And then as soon as they left, terrible again. So any thoughts or insights on this would be amazing.
What am I giving my insights on?
Why defensive-minded head coaches just seem to struggle more than offensive-minded head coaches.
I just think the main reason they struggle more is because, I mean, you've always lived off of the motion that defense wins championships. So it's like you can have the greatest defense out there, but when it comes to it, you still have to put the ball in the end zone. You know, you can do like Michigan for so long was the bend don't break mentality where the team would drive it all the way down to the red zone and we would hold them to either a turnover or a field goal, which was great, you know, because we got the ball back. It was awesome. But we just didn't have like the recruiting, like, you know, you don't have the recruiting to bring in these offensive players who can get us back down the field to try and flip the field and score. And I think that's, you know, they're really good at recruiting defensive players because they know what they're looking for. But it's different when you're looking at offensive players, and it's like, you know, you looking at a defensive tackle, you want a dude with some fast feet, fast hands. He's going to get off the ball. The weight's different. The strength is different compared to an offensive guard, center, or tackle where you want the feet and the hands, but you don't necessarily want them to be like 250. You'd rather them at like 300 with all these attributes. And it's like the recruiting, it's a lot different, and it's just a different mentality that I think it's harder for them to kind of look at.
I also think that defensive-minded head coaches, when they look at scheme, when they hire offensive coordinators, it's not the most up-to-date scheme that they can always get. Like, that's their big downfall. Exhibit A is Brady Hoke. Like, Brady Hoke went out and they hired Alabama's offensive coordinator to run the football. Right as college football was moving away from the fullback and the I formation and the offset I and the huddle under the center, when it was going more shotgun, more spread. Like I just feel like when it comes to offense, defensive-minded head coaches are just one step behind. But let's move on from.
Can I interject here with some random Pennsylvania news?
Yeah, go for it.
Obviously, it was, I think, early National Signing Day today. Is that sound about right? Robert knows what's up.
Yeah.
My guy, representing Lancaster, PA, David Pale from Manheim Township, has committed. 6'3", 305 defensive line from Manheim Township is going to Big Blue. He's becoming a Michigan Wolverine.
Hey, let's go!
Nice.
Manheim Township.
Yeah, a local guy for us.
And what's his name again?
I'm definitely butchering the first name, and I apologize.
Yeah.
But if you're watching this, I did that with Devontae Smith for his entire career at Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's DEYVID.
Pale. Yeah, that's about right.
David Pale.
Pale.
Yeah.
Okay.
6'3", 305.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Robert
he'll walk up, probably play a little nose tackle, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right?
Robert, per usual, no one from your area is ranked above 2 stars. So
Amen, bro.
10 out of 10. There were 3 4 stars in Pennsylvania. The one is from Bishop McDevitt. He's a wide receiver. He's going down to Alabama.
Yeah, naturally.
Okay. Bishop McDevitt had a lot of ranked dudes. There is another guy going to Michigan. He looks like he's 35 years old. His name is Cole Sullivan. He's from Central Catholic.
South Park. Oh.
That works too. Cole's from Central Catholic. He's a linebacker out in Pittsburgh. But there's some other guys. A lot of people going to Pitt from Central York. There was another dude. My boy from Chester, Dominic Troy. Dude, you don't have to go to UConn to play. You can go somewhere else. You can go win. You're a 3-star. You're 6'5", 215 as a tight end. You can go play wide receiver somewhere. You'll be okay. Or can someone go down to Chester and check my boy out? Because I think he needs help. Downingtown got a lot of people. Some dudes going to Kansas, Kent State. A lot of small schools, surprisingly, and I don't know if these people know that they're good enough to go play at a bigger school.
I like how you're like, you don't gotta go to UConn. Like you can go elsewhere. You can literally
Like
go.
here's my guy from Steelton High Spire, Andrew Irby, is going to Ohio. He's a defensive line. He'll be an edge, 6'2", 295. He's a 3-star. You're a 3-star from the middle of nowhere. From the hood, as it's referred to. And you're going to crack area, Ohio.
That's pretty racist, but correct.
I'm not the one. This is another dude named Jesse referred to it as the hood. Okay, so not me, the one being racist. A dude who goes to Bishop McDevitt from Lidditz is going. I forget where he's going. He's a white guy. He's a linebacker, and I think he's going to like JMU or something like that.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the.
ECU. He's going to Eastern Carolina.
Excellent. So that wraps up the slightly problematic segment of where are Pennsylvania kids going.
All right,
and
hold
if
up.
they're from the hood
You
or
don't
not.
think Steelton's the hood?
Never said that. I just don't think our skin tone is allowed to
Okay,
say that.
you live in Lidditz. Your house went up 100% in value since 2020.
Yeah.
You're not one to talk.
Exactly. That's why I'm not.
I at least live in a semi-sketchy neighborhood in an 800 square foot apartment.
All right.
Okay.
All right. And since I'm hosting, we're going to come back on
You're right. You're
to
right.
what I
I'm
want
sorry.
to talk about.
I'm sorry.
We're going to talk about the transfer portal, specifically quarterback. So just a couple things. I want to get people caught up. I think we covered last episode, but if not, Dante Moore, he was a 5-star. He originally committed to Oregon. Then on the early signing day last year, he flipped to UCLA because he wanted to start. Entered the transfer portal after he had a rough kind of go of it. He did start as a true freshman. 8 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, something like that. Turned the ball over. He committed back to Oregon only after Dylan Gabriel entered the transfer portal, going from Oklahoma there. So he probably would have started after sitting behind Bo Nix. Didn't want to do that. And now he's going to sit behind Dylan Gabriel. So that's quite interesting in and of itself. More of a testament to say, guys, like, stick with your original commitment because maybe things will just work out. It's okay to sit. Everyone wants to start right now. And here's a perfect example of kids who want to start right now. And I'm trying to find him. His name, and he was the number 1 overall recruit, or the number 1 quarterback in the 2023 class, who committed to sit behind Caleb Williams and did last year. His name is Malachi Nelson. He would start probably next year for Lincoln Riley and USC. He has entered the transfer portal. A lot of people are thinking that Ohio State will be his drug of choice, as it were. This is the transfer portal. Apparently USC's NIL pocketbooks are not as nearly as deep as what they should be, being in Southern California. However, that doesn't surprise anyone with how bad Southern California seems to be getting.
Womp womp.
But I just think it's kind of conspicuous because if your ultimate goal is the NFL, which coach has put more quarterbacks in the NFL? Lincoln Riley. And let's include Caleb Williams. Lincoln Riley or Ryan Day?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
I mean,
it's not close.
How long has Ryan Day been in there? Ryan Day's been there how many years?
Lincoln Riley's put more quarterbacks in the NFL. Ohio State has the same amount of quarterbacks in the NFL as Lincoln Riley, but that's Ohio State putting them in, not Lincoln Riley.
If you take Justin Fields, or if you take Dwayne Haskins, that's
Lincoln Riley has 3 starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
If you take Dwayne Haskins, that's when he took over as offensive coordinator. I'm answering Robert's question. I'm completely on your side. if you take Dwayne Haskins,
Right.
he put Dwayne Haskins, R.I.P.,
R.I.P.
Justin Fields,
Right.
and
R.I.P.
then C.J. Stroud. That's 3.
Right.
Almost not
All
R.I.P.
right. So
He's
so
doing
we'll
a great job.
say 2 starting quarterbacks, and Link has 3. Right.
No, you can't say two starting quarterback. CJ's the only one who's actually seemed to develop. Give Justin Fields credit.
But
he
Justin
has
is
developed.
starting.
Yeah, but he's still starting. Like, I mean,
Yeah, but who's
and
made an
he's been
impact? Who's made an
We're not
impact?
talking. Don't play this game. Not yet.
we're not.
Let's not talk
We can't.
impact.
We can't say the impact thing because Baker has been just dragging ass for how many years?
I'm sorry,
And
I just made
like,
an impact
know-
about Dwayne Haskins made
do
an
you-
impact and then died.
Nice. Do you know that that Baker Mayfield actually his
RIP,
QBR
sorry.
is better than Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts?
Yeah,
But
because he
meanwhile-
likes to live dangerous.
But meanwhile, Lincoln Riley has Baker starting. He has Kyler starting. He has. I'm going to give him credit for.
okay, if we want to talk about like the whole productivity thing, and
No,
you
I
want to put
don't wanna
Kyler's
talk-
name
No,
in there,
we
I don't
didn't
wanna
say
talk about
impact.
this.
We didn't say productivity. We said
just
impact.
because
There's a
just
difference.
because his KD in Call of Duty is astronomical, but he can't read the playbook because he's like Jamarcus Russell, like.
No, that will require him to be big and tall.
Because right
and
now,
fat
Kyler
to
Murray
be
and Dwayne
Jamarcus
Haskins have like the same quarterback like ability.
Okay, so let's get
It's
back
not
on
good.
track.
It's
Let's
not
get
good.
back on track. Lincoln has his last 3 quarterbacks are starting, and let's just call it 4 because we know Caleb is going top 5
Okay,
minimum.
so 4-2.
Right?
I mean, that's
let's
still close.
It's 2 and 4, but I think this is where we have to get into impact. Who is set up better for an NFL career?
And Ohio, and let's put it this way: an Ohio, to answer your question, an Ohio State quarterback has not made an impact until C.J. Stroud at the Texans. He literally took them from the basement to middle of the table.
True.
C.J. Stroud has made an impact.
Do we also have to look at
Name me one Ohio State quarterback, just Ohio State, before C.J. Stroud
None. You
that
can't.
actually did something.
You can't.
And we can play the Justin
Hard
Fields.
stop.
I'll give you Justin Fields. I'll give
Right.
you 2.
okay
Name one before him.
Yeah, you can't. Hard stop.
Links.
Right there.
Lincoln starts at Baker.
Starts
Baker-
at and has gone 4 for 5, my guy.
So
Not-
here's the thing.
Hello?
Here are so
Ohio State. I'm giving you the
Technically-
entire history of Ohio State, and you can give me 2 quarterbacks, and you give me 4 of 5 of one guy, and you say he doesn't make an impact?
I'm not saying he's not making an impact, but you're saying that like that Link is like just way better at producing these quarterbacks than what
Also,
Frank
I like
is.
calling him Link. We're calling him
So
Link.
if it's only 4 versus 2, I mean it's not like a dramatic thing.
I mean,
Like I understand that Cardell Jones and and Dwayne Haskins obviously didn't make as
RIP.
big of an impact as they did.
RIP.
But do we also have to look at the teams that these guys are getting drafted to in the
No,
same
for-
instance?
For sure.
Like,
For sure.
yeah,
there's
that,
so
that,
many
that plays-
you
variables.
can't tell me
Wait,
there's not
let me
more
get
of a...
Let me get my point in real quick. People are going to undervalue what Baker has done. So,
Exactly.
so let's just look at Baker just real quick, because I know you bring up Baker and you're like, what has Baker done? Okay. Quarterback in every single starting season, none back-to-back for the Cleveland Browns. Baker gets there, has started 4 straight season, gets traded, now has a better QBR in Tampa with an aging roster, a team that is dead last in the NFL in running the game, just went into Lambeau and did a perfect passer rating, first visiting quarterback ever to do that. Kyler, I think Kyler's actually had the worst career over Baker. Absolutely.
Well, yeah.
And then Jalen Hurts seems like depending on what week you get him, seems like a legitimate superstar in the NFL.
I don't know if you can give Lincoln Hurts. He was there for 1 year.
Yeah, but he was not. He was not.
He was.
He was
He
not
wasn't
a
getting
good
drafted
pocket
in the
passer.
second round.
He was not a second round quarterback at
He was
Alabama.
still good at Alabama, though.
He was good, but he was not throw from the pocket as good as he was.
Yeah, but he wasn't
under
great
Lincoln
at Oklahoma either, though.
He was a lot better than Alabama.
Yeah, he got better, but it's not like
he got benched because he couldn't complete a 5-yard out route in the national title game against Georgia.
Yeah, and he got benched by a person who is still doing like okay. Like who's having the better NFL career, Tua or Hurts?
I would say Hurts right now because Hurts it was second in MVP voting
right
last
now
year, made a
it's Hurts.
Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
So
It's Hurts right now.
So you're just gonna say that that's all Link?
I'm gonna
I
give.
forgot about
Yeah,
Spencer
I
Rattler.
have a.
We're not gonna talk about that train wreck.
You said 4 out of 5, Simeon. You were correct. You said 4 out of 5 for Lincoln Riley.
Of his Oklahoma. He also was a quarterback coach at Eastern Carolina. I don't know who his quarterbacks were there.
Okay, well let's not do that. Let's just go since Lincoln's been relevant. But if you're Malachi Nelson, where else? I mean, you better
There's a
choose
reason
Ohio
Will
State.
Howard is transferring to USC.
Well, that's not a done deal yet either. Just some other
Most
players
likely.
to jump in the portal. On 12/19, which was yesterday, Braylon Braxton, he is a redshirt sophomore, I believe, from Tulsa. He's in the portal.
He's a white guy, right?
Black guy. Zach Gibson.
No, he is not.
Yeah.
Dude named Braylon Braxton is black?
Okay. Take the tone out of your voice.
Okay, you have to imagine Braylon Braxton.
When I heard Braylon Braxton on a
You
on
assumed
podcast,
it was a white guy.
I 100% assumed it was the white guy.
Okay, I'm
Yes.
not the only one going crazy here.
Chandler Morris, who is a white guy, is transferring from TCU. Malachi Nelson from SC. Here's a big one right here.
Racism doesn't exist just with those two names.
KJ
It's not a
Jefferson is entering transfer portal. He's a graduate student from Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Interested in Miami. Miami, though, is also interested. Is also interested in. Sorry, I'm trying to find him. The guy from. His name is escaping me. I just literally heard it today.
Can't help you out here.
There's only 1,000 people on the.
Yeah, there's only 1,000 people.
Which one? Cam Ward, Malachi. Or
That's
Malik
it.
Murphy?
Cam Ward. Thank you. You hit it the first time. Literally first try.
Which one?
Cam Ward. So Miami wants Cam Ward. Florida State wants Cam Ward. From what I understand, if Cam Ward chooses Florida State, they want KJ Jefferson. If Cam Ward chooses Miami, Florida State wants KJ Jefferson. So KJ Jefferson is going to end up playing whichever team he snubs, which would be a big thing, a big hubbub.
State.
KJ Jefferson should go to Ohio State.
It actually makes more sense with his play style. Because that's like the same play style that Fields and
JT Barrett.
Yeah, that like run and shoe kind of scheme.
It's only 1 year, though. If I'm bringing in a quarterback, I want him young.
But you also have to look at the state that Ohio State is in right now. They need this 1 year.
So, did you guys talk about Malik Murphy? I don't remember you guys talking about Malik Murphy.
No, thank you. I was bringing him up next. Malik Murphy is also transferring from Texas, and he will not be on the roster in their game against Washington, which means Arch Manning is the backup, which means that Arch Manning, if he sticks around, will be probably the projected starter after next season when Quinn Ewers leaves.
Which is exactly what it means.
And let's all remember, Quinn Ewers has missed a total of 5 or 6 games in the last 2 seasons due to injury.
Oh, Quinn Ewers. Sorry, I thought you said Arch Manning.
Arch Manning might start some games next year. Robert.
I'm surprised with how well Malik Murphy did.
Malik Murphy to Ohio State. That's your running.
Yeah, that would make sense too. But I think Malik.
It's a very Jalen Hurts type person. except he can probably throw the ball better than Jalen.
A little bit right now, yeah.
I think Malik would do better at Wisconsin than he would Ohio State
Oh, no.
because of Ohio.
I'm saying no because you're right.
Because Wisconsin is trying to go with that more air raid system, and Malik has a big arm, but they always have that running back that really knows how to just, Braylon Allen, Len Dawson, all that kind of stuff. Like
Melvin Gordon the third.
Yeah, like that would be an ideal position for him to go.
Taylor.
But no one wants to go to Wisconsin at this point. Plus, he would have what's his nuts at,
Which is dumb.
coach,
You have Ryan Day.
the Cincinnati
Phil Longo,
coach.
Luke Fickell.
Fickle. Yeah.
Sorry, not Ryan Day. You have Luke Fickell. I'm sorry. It was a white guy with black hair. You have Luke Fickell, who coaches there, who's a proven, pretty good coach. Top tier, all things considered.
A white man?
Good offensive mind at a big name school that is Wisconsin, who flies under the radar. But, I don't know why you wouldn't, maybe, besides money, but I hate that I have to bring that up. Why do I have to bring up money now?
Well, because this is free agency. This is what the transfer portal is turned into.
Also, what's Michigan doing? Besides, I know that they're focusing on. I know that they're focusing on this on their their playoff thing and Harbaugh giving out cheeseburgers.
I was just about to bring up Michigan. The fact that Dante Moore did not come home and is instead going to Oregon makes me think a couple things are happening at Michigan. Maybe J.J. McCarthy is going to wait until play one more year and try to up his draft status and go for the number 1 overall pick.
No, that's fair.
Number 2, Harbaugh has told quarterbacks, I'm sure all these guys say the same thing, you're going to come in and you're going to compete for the job, that Alex Orji is going to be projected number 1. The fact that Alex Orji is as talented as he is, and I understand he's probably not a good polished pocket passer, but his ability to run that football for a running football team, 60% running football team, would be Cam Newton-esque in that 1 year for Auburn. Colin Kaepernick for Harbaugh during the 49ers. Or he actually did tell, what's their 5-star's name that just signed? Dylan.
No, you're thinking Raiola, but
I am thinking Raiola. They just signed a 4 or 5-star quarterback in this class, and Harbaugh did promise him the reins. First thing, and so he's telling recruits that.
Jaden Davis.
Sorry, Jaden Davis. I will know your name by the end of next season.
Jaden Daigle.
No, it's Jaden.
Is that who you're thinking of?
No,
there's a Jaden Daigle. All right, sorry. Guys. Move on.
Speaking of Dylan Raiola, he committed to Georgia last season.
It's like, okay.
Speaking of
pausing for dramatic
effect.
Oh my gosh, you guys are relentless. Dylan Raiola committed to Georgia last year. Senior in high school, committed when he was a junior. Then this offseason, flips to Nebraska. Does this say anything about Matt Rule and his culture? Dylan Raiola, I did not know this until I listened to the College Game Day podcast, does have ties to Nebraska. His dad played at Nebraska. Granddad played at Nebraska. His uncle's the offensive line coach,
yeah,
I think.
It makes sense now.
He has ties to Nebraska.
It makes sense, but doesn't make sense. Because it makes sense because of the family ties, but it doesn't make sense because he literally transferred to the state of Georgia to play high school football in Georgia.
Yep.
To be closer to the campus. So, that portion doesn't make sense, but him going to Nebraska does make sense. But it's just why? What have you seen at Nebraska that says, I can be the quarterback to turn this ship around? Because they don't have... what's their scheme? They don't have a scheme other than the quarterback runs for his life. It's not a read option system. It's not an air raid system. It's like a go.
They want to be a Michigan system. I think they want to be power football play action. But I will come back to this point, and I said it earlier in the podcast. If you name me a quarterback that started as a true freshman, game one true freshman in college football, and was a top tier NFL quarterback. I don't even think Peyton Manning started as a true freshman.
Did start. Or was he a redshirt freshman?
Right,
Trevor
He was a
Lawrence
freshman when he started.
Trevor Lawrence came in week 6 after playing on and off. Like, he would probably be my closest.
Probably.
There is benefit to learning the job. And let's call it what it is. It's now a job to go play college football because you're getting paid.
Yeah, I think we have to look at it differently now because it used to be sitting and watching, right? Tom Brady, great example, right?
5 years at Michigan, yeah.
5 years at Michigan, fought for everything. You go and you watch his, highly recommend watching his NFL Films documentary. But, like, fought for the job. But he wouldn't have been Tom Brady if he didn't stay at Michigan. Every single year he fought for the job, especially years 3, 4, 5. His 5th year, he took him to a bowl game and won, like a 10-win season or whatever, and had to fight for the starting job again. Wouldn't have been Tom Brady without that.
Yeah.
So you're right, basically, is what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up freshman college football quarterbacks who had a career in the NFL. You good there, Robert?
You good?
Yeah, everything kind of got like real scratchy for a minute, and then like my webpage kind of crashed, and I was like, "What happened?" But then so we're good.
Okay.
But I also, so back on the point,
Yep.
a lot of like, especially like the older coaches like Harbaugh, like Jimbo and stuff like that. A lot of them have that philosophy where most of your freshman quarterbacks don't start.
Yeah.
So it's like, and a lot of that, I mean, look at JJ. JJ sat behind
Cade,
and Cade did great, and JJ learned from Cade. I think that's just the biggest thing with the NFL too. Like none of these kids learn.
Like I am a manager right now at a healthcare facility, right? When I got out of nursing school, I didn't go right to being a manager. I had to learn how to nurse first.
Hey, did you know that Ronnie Bell's brother is a quarterback for Michigan right now?
Yes, I did. Did you know that Old Miss is cleaning up in the portal?
My gosh.
Of the transfer portal rank, according to 24/7 Sports, they have Walter Nolan. He is the number one overall transfer portal. They have, I'm not even going to try him. They have the edge from Florida. He's the number 10 overall. They have the number 11 overall player. He's an edge from Tennessee. And they have Antoine Wells, Juice Wells from South Carolina. He's the number 15 overall recruit. They are cleaning up in the portal right now. However, the number 1 overall team in the portal is the same number 1 overall team last year. It is the Colorado Buffaloes. Guys, will Dion have a better season than 4 and 8 back-to-back number 1 overall recruiting transfer portal classes?
Yes, he's going to go 5 and 7.
Yeah, well, he's going to a much easier conference. So, I mean, in a way, they very well. Is
he though?
Oh my God, yeah.
No.
So who's the big dog in the Big 12 next year?
Well, let's look.
It's probably Utah.
Right, so it's Utah.
Utah's going to walk in.
I'm just wondering. He doesn't have as good of an offense as he thinks he has. Speaking of defensive-minded head coaches, and like the Big 12 is known for their offenses.
So offensive, it seems like he's putting together
also
a much
Oklahoma
better
State. Did we forget
line.
about Oklahoma State?
No, because they did, because they don't know who the hell they're playing half the time.
That's fair.
Like that's the whole thing is you have Colorado who was abysmal in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12, I mean, was juggernaut central for a little bit there between Oregon, USC, Washington. Utah was doing its thing. You had Oregon State, who went good one week, okay next week, to going to, okay, so now we got Cincinnati, BYU, Kansas State, who's on and off sometimes, Baylor, who forgets they have a football program, Kansas, who has a football program, but then they forget they have a football program by week 9. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they honestly win the conference, but with like a 7-6 record. Like it's be one of those kind of things where it's like, okay, you have a Power 5 champion at 8-5.
Raheem Sanders is going to go to South Carolina. Michigan did get a corner out of
his
Western.
son, who plays.
No, Raheem, different Sanders, Rocket Sanders.
Oh, okay.
Michigan got a corner out of Western Kentucky. Julian Fleming went to Penn State. I don't know if anyone knew that.
I saw that
out right
That
now.
was-
But Ohio State got the number 1 wide receiver in this.
Sure,
year's
yeah,
recruiting-
because
in this year's
that's
recruiting
worked out
class.
so well for Marvin Harrison Jr. By the way, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to the draft. Stop.
Good for him.
Stop. Well, I don't know this he's still debating. Stop. He's going to the draft. Okay.
He should go get his bag, and he'll be in the NFL for 5 years, and then he'll go retire.
Exactly. I want to end with this.
Hold on. I have a list.
Okay, go ahead.
Of an 8-person list of, according to ChatGPT,
Okay.
quarterbacks who started games in college as a true freshman and also started games in the NFL. So my net is wide.
Okay.
Number 1, Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
Number 2, Dante Culpepper.
Okay.
Number 3, Rex Grossman.
Jesus.
Number 4, Eli Manning.
Okay. There's your first Hall of Famer.
Number 5, Matthew Stafford.
And second
Dante
Hall of Famer.
Culpepper was a Hall of Famer?
Is Dante is he a Hall of Famer? Is that a question or a statement?
I guess more of a question. Question:
Are you?
If he is, and question: Do you think he is?
I
think
no,
he
I
should
don't
be.
think Dante Culpepper is.
That's what I like. Simeon, I was thinking like Simeon's. I was like, I kind of figured he would be one. Like obviously
look it
not
up.
first ballot, but
Maybe I am not as up to date on my Dante Culpepper history, and if I am not, I
He
do
was good.
apologize. Is Dante Culpepper a Hall of Famer?
I'm looking it up. Number 6, Sam Bradford. Number 7, Jameis Wilson. And lastly, and surely leastly, Josh Rosen.
God, that was such a bad thing.
Josh Rosen?
Yeah, that dude had a ton of talent, big arm.
Dante Culpepper is in the.
He's not in the college, in the football, NFL. Hall of
He's
Fame.
in the Florida High School Athletic Association Hall of Fame.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, again,
He's
that
also-
just kind of goes to my point. I mean,
He's-
that's a list of 8 quarterbacks, and like 3 of them are Hall of Famers,
He's
right?
a 50 of the. He's one of the 50 of the greatest Vikings. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's the NFL passing yards leader in 2004, touchdown leader in 2000. And
Randy Moss.
he threw for 3,000 yards he threw 3,200 times, completed it 63% of those times. His touchdown to interception is 149 to 106. He has a career passer rating of 87, rushing yards of 2,600,
Yeah.
and rushing touchdowns of 34.
Not besmirching the dude. Dude can throw the football, but I am saying it helps to have Randy Moss.
I mean, yeah,
He would do a lot better than I would, 100%.
Yo,
But
for real.
I could go for 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions and 350 yards in an NFL game if I had Randy Moss.
you would need 2 Randy Mosses
2, fine, but still, like
and a stellar offensive line.
and a Roman Wilson catching a
and a heck of a
football
lot
off
of
a
bubble
helmet.
screens, ladies and gentlemen.
All right,
So here,
move to your last thing. Yeah.
all right, I want to finish with this, and then we're gonna get out of here. Everyone is saying, so I'm looking over the transfer portal list. Nealon Green, corner from Georgia, transferring. AJ Harris, corner from Georgia, transferring. Jamin Damus Johnson, linebacker from Georgia, transferring. Marvin Jones Jr. from Georgia, transferring, etc., etc., etc. Brock Vandergriff, quarterback, transferring. Georgia's having a lot of players leave. Everyone is freaking out. Here comes the end of the Georgia dynasty. My take, I'm going to pass it around the buck then. This is not concerning. This tells me that the culture at Georgia is so good that they can have 10 plus players enter the portal, top players, and still be all right. I've never been in a football locker room. I don't know what it's like. I just watch it. I know the interviews. I know what coaches say. I consume it at a high level. Okay. I am A+ at consuming football content. So, Robert, please could correct me if I'm wrong. But I guarantee you that you can tell the difference in kids who are there for the team and the culture and who are there for themselves and the glory and the accolades. And I'm not saying the two can't go hand in hand, but when you have a national championship team and kids are leaving, that tells me that those kids are there more for themselves, and again, I could be wrong, than they are for the culture and the championships. I think Georgia's going to be just fine. I think Georgia's going to roll next season. Wouldn't surprise me if Georgia wins the Natty next season. So I'm going to tell Georgia fans, just relax. Thoughts? Anyone? Robert, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, kids leave all the time, and chances are if one kid is leaving, you're probably bringing in another kid who is going to be as good, if not better. When it comes to the kids that are there for like the accolades and the kids that are there because of the culture, you know, especially with the NIL deals and the way college football is right now, and the fact that it's a job and the ultimate goal isn't necessarily to win. Now, for the coaches, the ultimate goal is to win the national championship. That's the ultimate goal. For the kids, the ultimate goal is to get to the NFL. If you win a national championship on the way that helps, it's a big resume builder. So for a kid to go to college for the accolades and to get to the NFL, the money and everything, I mean, you can't blame them because that's part of the game. That's what your 4-star, 5-star recruits generally are. You know, they don't really, most of your, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them, they could, really care less about tradition, systems, all that stuff. As long as they get to the NFL, awesome, and make money on the way. Your 2 stars, 3 stars are the kids who aren't being recruited as heavy, but they still get into these schools off of, like they're kind of the last ones to get in almost. Like, Michigan takes those kids, but a lot of those kids, it's more about they want to go to Michigan because, they had family that went to Michigan. They want to be Michigan men. They want to build that tradition, keep that. They want to be team 145, 146, 147. And that's where you see your older schools like Michigan, Notre Dame, and stuff like that. You see the culture kind of keep going. But then it also stays with like the coaches too. But I mean, the ultimate goal is to go to the NFL. If we're playing college football, we have to be honest about it. I mean, eventually culture is going to die. Culture is eventually going to die in college football, especially if they go to that subdivision, because then there is no culture.
Well,
yes
ahead. And no. There will be fan culture, and we'll see what fan bases actually stick around and what fan bases don't. But if the fan, much like I said, and the only reason I bring this up and disagree with you on the culture aspect is because I compared what was happening to what happened in English soccer, and there's a very big parallel, and that's basically what exists now. There is no culture at Liverpool. There is, but there isn't. There probably was in the 1880s, but like
it's it's like a modification of the culture to like a new culture.
100%. It's all fan based
Fan-driven.
culture, correct?
Compared to
instead
actually
of locker room,
student athlete,
and what the
yeah,
culture is,
yeah.
correct. Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
100
I guess
100%.
I'm wrong
So-
by saying it would die, but it would just be modified.
I agree with Robert here 100%. And you want to ask your question, so go.
So, Robert, you said that these kids, the goal is to get to the NFL. Why is the goal to get to the NFL? To get paid, right?
Right.
Not anymore.
Yes and no. Because
No, I understand it's less,
like,
and
yeah,
I don't want to
mean-
just besmirch any kid trying to get paid. 100% you should get paid. But what I'm saying is, if you're trying to get to the NFL to get paid, and Georgia, who's put out more defensive talent in the last 3 years than Georgia? Look at the Philadelphia Eagles roster.
Eagles, yeah.
Like half of it is Georgia.
Yeah.
National championship plus NIL, and I understand Georgia doesn't have deep NIL pockets yet, but it'll come around. I understand, and it makes me sad because you are right to an extent that culture is going to shift, and it's going to be tradition is going to go out. Tradition is going to be a byproduct. Team 189 for Michigan. That's just going to be a byproduct. Oh yeah, I'm part of Team 189. Well, why are you counting team names like that? So like that's going to be like right now, Blake Corum, JJ McCarthy, Donovan Edwards, Zach Zinter. I'm part of Team 144. I'm part of the team that took down Ohio State for a third straight time, going to the college football playoff. You know, if they win the Natty, we took down Alabama in the Rose Bowl. We took down Texas, Washington, whoever in the Natty. Team 144 did that. Like, there's pride behind that. So
Yeah.
I understand. I just think in transfer portal land, whether you have an Ole Miss, you get every top dog. You have a Colorado, you have the #1 transfer portal recruiting class. You have Georgia, whole bunch of kids left. You have Michigan, you don't do anything. You just got to wait and see it play out, because sometimes transfer portals get rid of bad eggs. Transfer portal brings in good eggs. Grass ain't always greener, but sometimes it fits you better in life. And with that being said, we're going to get on out of here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This has been another rendition of the 4th and 1 podcast. I have been your host, Captain Bourne. Next to me is CFB3 Roberto. And Admiral, you're like that, always keeping it sassy. Until next time, wash your hands, you filthy animals.